group's been good. They work hard. They know how to work. They listen. They want to be good. They play hard. So that usually leads to good special teams play. I think we'll be in good shape when it's all said and done. Me just trying to learn the players and kind of their attributes is something that's an ongoing process. So we're working on that. It's been good. It's been fun, and the periods have been competitive and the drills have been competitive. We've done mostly drill work, but I'm excited for the group.
Coach, what have you learned about Timmy?
Timmy's a pro. Like that, the whole group, they're pros, but Timmy's a pro. Like he goes out there every day with something to work on, which I really like about him. So he's like, today, coach, I'm going to work on this, and we sit there and we look at it real closely, and then when it comes time for the film, and then that's one thing we're trying to focus on is like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to work on something, but he comes ready to work every day. And it's not just everyone's going to look at like the field goals and that there's a whole other part of things that he's working on right now. Today we were working on onside kick. We got some kickoffs. We went over to the stadium and got a couple of kickoffs today. So we haven't done much live kickoff work. We've done some approach work, and like I said, he's a pro because he's out there saying, okay, I'm going to be a 10-step approach on my kickoff. I want to have my plant foot here. So we've been working on that and filming it and trying to just get better. But Timmy's a pro. He's great to work with.
What's something that you pick up in the NFL that you bring to college now in terms of what you can emphasize?
Well, I'm working. I'm much better than I was before I went to the NFL because you get to spend a lot of time with the actual specialists. So in the past, you're coaching the tight ends and you're trying to coach special teams, and then you're going around with the guys and you're meeting with them, but you don't have as much time. So when you're working with guys like Johnny Hecker and Zane Gonzalez and JJ Jansen, you're learning like the real ins and outs. With Hecker and JJ, you're learning like at the highest level of things that are important to execute your job. So just the little nuances of the job. We were specifically today we were talking about the snappers getting their heads up so they can get into protection quicker, and a couple things that had gotten from JJ with regards to getting the head up so we can get into the protection as quickly as possible are things that I would not probably have talked about much 3 or 4 years ago that we can talk about. That's just an example. There's really a bunch of them.
What about Billy Kemp? What has he brought to the punt return spot? He's got a lot of film to watch him in the past. How easy has he made the transition look so far?
Billy's been good. And Billy's again the thing that's impressed me about Billy and really all these guys is, Billy's a worker. Like he's working at different aspects and wants to be challenged. So like he's not out there catching punts in the pre-practice. He's out there saying, okay, I'm going to position myself 15 yards over to the left, and I'm going to come back and get square on the ball. And he made a comment to me about getting square on the ball. It was actually a kickoff return, but he was talking about wanting to try to make sure that he was going to get square on the ball as one of his goals. So he's working on his craft all the time. He obviously brings some juice to the return game, and there's a few guys. The competition's going to be intense when it's all said and done for the first game next year. We're a long way away from that, but there's a couple guys that can return the ball, and he's certainly one of them.
Malik Rose said he's not afraid that you brought in another kicker in Albano. I mean, how much do you like to see that a guy wants some competition, wants to be pushed?
I've never been anywhere where the competition hasn't been beneficial at all positions. I think it's really critical. I think it's critical to have it at returner. I think it's critical to have it at kicker, punter. Anywhere we can have competition where guys are pushing each other is going to make us all better. So, and the good thing about kicking and the punting and the special teams is, those competitions are quantifiable. So we can go through, and those aren't going to happen until the fall. But when they happen, they're quantifiable. So we can say, this guy made this amount of kicks from this distance, or this guy's dropping the ball on the kickoffs on this yard line with this hang time, and the punters have this operation time. So we have so much quantifiable information. It's actually easier to have competitions than it is if you're playing linebacker, because tackles aren't always the best indicator when you're doing something like linebacker. So that's going to be really helpful for us to create that competition.
Bleak Road also said this is the windiest stadium he's ever kicked in. Have you noticed that yet? that? Have you gotten in there to see that?
Yeah, we were in there. We were in there in the scrimmage, and it's not like there's a lack of wind on the practice field either. But to me, those are big conversations in the NFL. So those are, to me, challenges. Those are things that we have to overcome. They're part, and that's a huge advantage for us if we can, figure out the wind or figure out what the wind's going to do or figure out how we're going to attack the wind. So we're talking. I'm talking to Timmy all the time. Again, with some of the things that I learned in the NFL, from Zane Gonzalez and Johnny Hecker, like we're looking at aiming points in the stadium or aiming points on the practice field that we're going to play the wind from. So, the pipes are obviously good, and we're trying to get the ball inside the pipes, but that's not always our aiming point. So we're working on, and that's true in the punt game as well. So the wind is a challenge, but it's something that we're going to deal with week in and week out, and have an approach and a plan for how we're going to handle it.
We see a lot of this conversation about accountability, and it's notable when we're out there just watching Coach Rule kind of work, coach the coaches, so to speak. What's that experience? I mean, you know him better than I think than any assistant. What's that experience like, and the first time you experience it, what's good about it? Why is it effective?
You have if you got a big brother or a brother or a family member that's a real role model, not like this rah-rah cheerleader stuff, like where, hey, you're doing a great job no matter whether you're doing a great job or not. If you, like when I got little brothers, and I'd tell my little brothers, like, you're not acting the right way, or you're not, that's what it's like. So it's like working for somebody who loves football, who's very intense about the competitive spirit of football, and is not, it's his job in his mind, in our minds, and what we do and why we work well together is he'll say, hey, like we were talking today out there about the shield on the punt, and he was like, what do you think about that? The shield looks really tight to me. So we had that conversation. We're going to go look at that on film, but he's not out there standing going to look at the shield and say something doesn't look right, and he's not going to say anything. Like I expect him, I want him to say something, and we have that relationship. But he's great like that with the coaches, and it's not like challenging. It's just, hey, this is what I'm seeing. Like, and like a lot of people, like you're in that role with people in your family. Sometimes, do I say something? Like that's not the way it is on our staff. Our staff is like, that doesn't look right to me. I'm not coming after you. It doesn't look right to me. What do you think? And then we have a conversation about it. But for most of us, we're beyond the, what's your agenda or whatever, because we've all worked together, and these guys we coached, and we've been working with them now for years. There's a trust, and we're starting from a point where we're coming and coaching each other because we care about each other, not because we're trying to, there's no egos involved in that.
What about Bushini? What do you like about what he's been able to show you early on?
Bushini's had a great week. This week has been really good. Like he's really technical in his approach. So we've been focusing on pooch punting the last two practices, and I don't know if you have an appreciation for pooch punting, but if you do, he put on a clinic on Saturday with his pooch punt. I said, I want you to drop the ball on the 8-yard line, and I think he had 10 kicks, and I think 4 of them dropped exactly on the 8-yard line. Like that's like Johnny Hecker stuff. And then I didn't get the markings today, but the balls looked good. And today he had to deal with he dealt with wind on both days. But he's really talented. He has good command of where the football's going to go. There's some things, and again, he's like Timmy, where he's got some things that he needs to work on that we're working on. And usually with the punters, if you just think about the art of punting, it's like hitting a golf ball, but you're dropping the golf ball. Like it's really that technical. So like he's dropping the ball, and normally if he's not catching clean or he's not getting it down, he's dropping it one way or the other. Usually it's inside, but we're always looking at the drop. So he's constantly looking at his drop and his steps, because it's all got to time up that way. So it's extremely technical, and he's advanced, but he's also learning, and he's watching film, and we're looking at things together, and it's been great to work with him as well.
Is there anybody pushing him?
Jacob Hole has a chance. He's working really hard. He's young, so I would say, like, if you're looking at the progression of it, Brian's a guy that's kind of pushing to get to the NFL, and Jacob's like a guy that's pushing to try to get on a college field. So direct answer to your question, not really, but I wouldn't surprise me if Jake started to uncork some punts and start to do some things to deserve to get on the field. Brian's really good. I mean, I'd love to be able to create some competition for him, but I don't know if we can do that right now.
We can also kick off. Timmy said he's been doing a little bit of that.
Yep. Yeah, Timmy, Brian's working on it. Yeah, so Brian's gonna do some kickoffs. We're gonna evaluate that a little bit. We actually got our first shot at it today, so I think you'll see us incorporate that. I'm not sure how much of that we'll incorporate into practice. I think we will, but like you guys know, the frustrations. Like we're trying to work that kickoff return drill today, and the Jugs is dropping them in there really nice for us. If we go out there and the kicker misses one, it wrecks the whole drill. So I'm kind of a little bit uptight about making sure the ball goes where I want it to during that period, especially early on. But maybe we might see us kick one or two off in the spring game or as we approach it. But I'm interested to see how they do it. I mean, Brian's got a big leg, so he can do it. Timmy can do it, and it's not about, to me, blasting the ball out of the end zone. I worked for a guy last year in Carolina that didn't want to kick the ball out of the end zone. So whatever the kicking abilities are, will fit the coverage around the ability of the kicker. I think that's the important part, is that we get guys that are consistently putting the ball where we want to with enough leg strength. And from what I've seen, I think we'll be able to do that. Thanks, guys.